Breaking news, WABC.
And joining us now here on Katz and Cosby, this is extraordinary. We have just heard from the President of the United States that 14 Americans have been killed over there in Israel by the Hamas terrorist attacks, and that as many as 20 Americans are missing and may be hostages of Hamas. The stakes could not be higher. And today we have an action-packed show. John Catsimatidis, my great co-host, is going to be joining us remotely, and he is with us today. We also have in studio Judge Richard Weinberg and also Craig Eaton. Guys, the stakes could not be higher. John Katz, your reaction, first of all, to this horrible news, John.
Well, I am afraid for our friends in Israel. I'm afraid this is very serious, and I think it's going to get a lot more serious than not. And the fact is, during the press conference, I understand they asked Jake to freeze the $6 billion that we gave Iran, and I don't know what they're going to do with that $6 billion. There was other reports coming in that a lot of the equipment that Hamas used could have been, and it's just reports. Maybe you'll ask Tony Schaefer or one of the other people coming on later that a lot of it is coming from Ukraine. Maybe people are selling it there. A lot of it is coming from Afghanistan. Nobody really knows. It's an open item, and I think our intelligence agencies have to do their homework.
1,000%. John, stay with us. We have with us, joining us now live from Israel, the former consul general from Israel to New York, a great advisor to many of the prime ministers there in Israel. My dear friend, Consul General Alon Pinkas. Alon, thank you for joining us. First of all, our thoughts and prayers with Israel. Your reaction, Alon, to this just horrible news that the world is learning today. Israeli media crews, as you know, were brought in, I-24 News, to see what was happening and what happened to that kibbutz. Just horrific images of, sadly, of even beheaded babies. What are you hearing from Israel? This is getting so horrible, Alon.
Well, hi, Rita. Good to be with you, Craig, John, and Richard. It's devastating. There's no question about it. It's probably Saturday, October 7th, 3 days ago, was probably the worst day, arguably the worst day in Israel's history, in terms of the 9/11 type surprise. No comparisons made, just limiting this to the shock of the surprise. There are probably over 1,000 dead, many of which, at least 800 of which, are civilians, of which, as you noted in your opening, Rita, of which 14 are either American or have a dual citizenship. This was a major and devastating debacle in terms of the intelligence, in terms of the early warning. This, without getting into an argument with the previous speaker, this has nothing to do with the money that the U.S. unfroze that belongs to Iran via Qatar and South Korea. And most of the weapons are via Iran and not Afghanistan and not Ukraine. But that doesn't change. These tidbits of information are important, of course. It doesn't change the shock. And the question right now is what's in store in the next few days, and how and to what extent this will escalate. Yeah,
and Consul General Alon Pinkas, again, the former Consul General from Israel to New York, joining us here.
I'm a friend of Rita. Forget the titles.
Oh, thank you. Longtime friend, by the way, Alon. We have known each other for decades. What is Israel going to do? Because we know that they're amassing their reservists. They have to wipe out Hamas. This is not just, this is a fight for the struggle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But here's where it gets complicated. Hamas is not an army. Hamas is a bunch of terrorist thugs and murderers who control the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is the most densely populated area on Earth, with 2.2 million people condensed in an area half the size of Manhattan. Now, wiping out Hamas is a great thing to do. It's a great objective, but it's easier said than done. In order to do that, it's not enough to wipe out neighborhoods, to fire missiles from attack helicopters or F-16 or F-35 jets. In order to seriously uproot Hamas, dismantle the military infrastructure, you need a ground operation. And a ground operation is when things get really ugly and lengthy and prolonged and nasty. And I honestly don't know, Rita, where this is going. Obviously, this cannot and will not be treated as just another cycle of violence, in which there's a ping pong or exchange of firepower, and then we all go home counting our deads, as we did for the better part of the last 20 years, every 2-3 years. This was a game changer in terms of the scale and the magnitude. So I anticipate the Israeli reaction to the Israeli retaliation to be massive. How massive and whether or not it will involve a ground operation, I honestly do not know.
I want to ask you, how is Israel just dealing with the fact, and how concerned are you at the fact that they clearly have, we're hearing 150 more hostages, the Hamas, and they are threatening that any strike, anything, they're going to execute, and they're going to put it on social media. It is so horrible. How worried are the Israelis?
Very worried, because, people know these people. I mean, my own daughter has 3 friends who were murdered and 2 who are believed to be hostages. I mean, friends, as in people I know, friends of my daughter. So this is close to home for many, many, many Israelis. I'm the one happening to speak with you, but there are thousands of Israelis who've been touched by this. So the worry is real. Now, the question is, what does Hamas want to do here? Do they want to exchange the number of hostages they have, maybe 150, maybe 80? I don't know. It's unconfirmed. Do they want to exchange all those for all the Hamas convicts and inmates, prisoners in Israel? I don't know. Maybe the Israeli government, which, by the way, owns this crisis and owns this debacle and owns this scandal, I don't know if they have the public legitimacy to negotiate. On the other hand, as you correctly mentioned, Rita, any Israeli action, and these lunatics, these thugs, are going to start executing people. This is like a horror crime movie that we all watch on television and then have a drink. But this is real life, and not for nothing, the President Biden, in a very, very welcome pro-Israeli speech, not for nothing, he compared it to ISIS. I think this is an important point, Rita, because alluding to Hamas as a terror organization is remote from the American psyche. Comparing them to ISIS makes them, to a degree, an American issue. And it's not just the American nationals that have been killed or are being held hostage. It makes, once the comparison to ISIS was made, this makes it an issue that's bigger and broader than Israel versus Hamas. So,
Absolutely. By the way, we have a quick question from Craig Eaton, real quick.
Mr. Pinkas, how you doing? I mean, look at the timing. If you look at the timing from when we released the hostages and released the $6 billion, it's almost a month ago. I mean, do you believe there's any connection? I mean, I can't get it out of my head that there is no connection between this.
There is no connection. Listen, Craig, I understand the question. I understand how the logic seems. The money was Iran's. They have enough. They have been funding. Iran is a terror state. They are funding, mentoring a whole web of proxies throughout the Middle East, and they are in very good ties now with the Russians, by the way. and they control Hezbollah in Lebanon. They have militias in Syria. They have militias in Iraq, and they have some control over Hamas in Gaza, even though they come from two different strains of Islam. The Iranians are Shiite and Hamas are Sunni, but let's not delve into that.
And by the way, Alon, more important too, yes. Just because we just have a few minutes here. Listen, we are watching, most importantly, where this is headed. I believe the next few days are going to be pivotal, just as you said.
Absolutely.
And this is, most importantly, our thoughts and prayers are with all of you there in Israel. This is just such a horrible circumstance. You got to keep us posted. Please come back on soon. We love you and we appreciate you.
I will, and thank you for having me, to all of you, and especially to you, Rita.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. You stay safe, and our prayers, of course, and also your friends, your daughter's friends who are now hostage. Wow. Thank you, Alon, very, very much.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.